What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Football Focus 1 with your host, Diamond Dan. So today we're going to be reviewing the last division in draft grades, and we're going to be talking about the NFC North. So to kick it off, we're going to start with the Detroit Lions. Now, the Detroit Lions kicked the first pick off for the NFC North by taking blue chip prospect Jeffery Okudah in the third overall pick. Now, Okudah is an elite cornerback out of Ohio State. Okudah is a big corner. He's about 6'2", has a 41-inch vert, and runs a 4.41 in the 40-yard dash. Okay. Now, Okudah also has the game tape to back up his elite physical skills. All right. And to me, he was hands down the best corner in college football last year. This pick was a no-brainer. Good job on getting it right, Lions. Good pick. Now, in the early second round, the Lions came back and selected DeAndre Swift, who is the best overall running back in the 2020 draft, in my opinion. He's about 5'8", 220, runs a 4.4 in the 40. And after watching Swift's tape and just reviewing over his overall tape and watching his games this past 2 years, I really think he's the best RB to come out of Georgia in years, at least since Todd Gurley, and in some ways he's better than Todd Gurley. Now, I personally think he's a better combination of Nick Chubb and Sony Michel rolled into one. All right, he's a three-down back who has elite skill sets and could be a Pro Bowler day one if the Lions use him right. So overall, another awesome pick. Then with the 67th overall pick in the third round, the Lions selected Julian Okwara, the defensive end out of Notre Dame. Now, Okwara is one of the best, if not the best, bull rushers in the 2020 draft class. All right, he does great when he's converting his speed rush to power and when he's trying to get to the QB. All right, now Okwara broke his leg the year before last, and if it wasn't for that, he would most likely been a top 20 pick. All right, so overall, he was a draft steal in the third round, and again, he's a potential Pro Bowl player, hands down, in the first or second year. Another great pick. Now, after drafting Okwara, the Lions selected two solid guards back-to-back in the third and fourth rounds. They selected Jonah Jackson out of Ohio State, who's probably the best pass-protecting guard in this draft class. Now, here's a stat for you. Out of a 460 offensive snaps, Jackson only allowed 10 QB pressures, right? Which is a super impressive number, right? Then they selected Logan Stenberg, the guard out of Kentucky, who they got in the fourth round. Now, Stenberg plays with a mean streak, and really, he plays well into that physical style of football. Looks like the Detroit Lions are going to be changing their game more towards running the ball this year. Now, they've been trying to do that for 8 years now, right? Since they had Reggie Bush back in 2012. But I think Patricia is serious about it this year, right? Which is smart because if he does, you protect Matt Stafford, you could probably get another 5 years of out of Matt Stafford alone, all right? They can maybe try to go win a title. Now, usually in drafts, teams struggle to get talent as a prospects who fit the teams right, and especially in the later rounds. But in this draft, the Lions did not struggle to find talent at all. All right, I feel that they hit on 3 straight potential Pro Bowler players with their first 3 picks in Okudah, Swift, and Okwara. Then with their 4th and 5th round picks, they got 2 guards who will most likely start for them, if not this year, the following year. All right, so Lions hit on 5 straight picks, and again, that to me is a mean hell of a draft. All right, and all pro scouts agreed with me because they gave the Lions a good grade as well. So I would have to give the Lions an overall B+. All right, so great draft. Think they could have done better with the late round picks, but still, overall, great draft. And this was by far Matt Patricia's best draft. All right, now let's talk about the Chicago Bears. All right, now the Bears had a down year last year, as we all know, right? Which should not have happened, right? Everyone was thinking they were going to take the NFC North, maybe even go late into the playoffs like they did the prior year, especially considering the talent they had on that team, right? So there's no way they should have had the season they did. Right now, I like Mitchell Trubisky, man. People hate on him, but I think that the kid's talented, but they need to use his legs more, man. You have a quarterback with a low 4.6 speed, use his legs. So the Bears didn't have a first-round pick this year because of last year, the Khalil Mack trade. All right, now considering Khalil Mack's been one of the best overall defenders in the league last 2 years, I would say that the trade has worked out in their favor. All right, so Khalil Mack, the best defender in the league, top 3 for 2 first-rounders. Give that to me all day. Now, with the Bears' first pick in the second round, they took tight end Cole Kmet out of Notre Dame, Fighting Irish baby. Now, Kmet is a big dude. He stands almost 6'7", 265 pounds, and runs a 4.7 at the combine. And he also jumped 37 inches in the vert. And 37 inches for a vert for a guy who's 6'7", he's getting up there, all right? So he has good size. He has big catch radius to win any jump balls or contested catches. Now, Kmet blocks with effort as well, right? He runs routes better than you would think for that guy that big. And now Kmet still has some things he can work on, but at the same time, I could see him being a Kyle Rudolph replica, just maybe even a little bit bigger. Then with their second pick in the second round, the Bears selected Jalen Johnson, the cornerback out of Utah. Now, selecting Johnson was an awesome pick, right? Johnson is probably the most instinctive corner in this draft, in my opinion. And he's a bully in pass coverage, right? He has great footwork, and he could play press as good as any corner in this draft. So overall, love the pick. Jalen Johnson probably will be a starter for the Bears year one, if not right out the gate. The Bears then selected a fifth-round pick, a few fifth-round picks, a few seventh-round picks. They took Trevis Gibson in the fifth, who is probably one of the best developmental prospects that they could take in the later rounds, so I did like that pick. But some other guys they didn't really hate on, like Lajivia Simmons and so on, Kendall, Vidor, it wasn't that great of picks. So now overall, the Bears had an okay draft, if you include the Khalil Mack picks. I love the Jalen Johnson pick, flat out, that's a win. So he will instantly, I think I said, be a starter for them. And then even though I'm a fan of Cole Kmet, because he played for the Fighting Irish, no, I'm just kidding. But I was a little surprised that they still took a tight end in round 2. Especially considering that they went out and paid the old journeyman tight end Jamie Graham this offseason a bunch of money, so I don't know. I didn't like that. And then they did this, even though they still have Trey Burton on the roster, Adam Shaheen, they're all under contract. So why do you need 5 tight ends? So I don't know why they drafted him in the second. The Bears have too many tight ends in my opinion, so again, I think they're wasting a quarter of their salary on tight ends alone, when they should really invest in that in the offensive line, in my opinion. All right, when the Bears are going to be good is if they really invest in that offensive line and get it that it was 2 or 3 years ago. So overall, I have to knock them for it. I'm going to give the Bears an overall C+ for their draft grade. Now on to the Minnesota Vikings. Now listen, say what you want about the Vikings, always choking in the playoffs and so on, but you have to give them credit when it's due, right? The fact that they're always in the mix to win it, and in the 2020 draft, they were in the mix to win it again, all right? So overall, I like what they're doing in the draft, or like what they did in the draft, and they're always competitive. Now, with the Vikings' first pick, they selected wide receiver Justin Jefferson out of LSU with the 22nd pick. Now, Jefferson is the best receiver not named Ruggs, Judy, or Lamb. But he was my 4th best receiver in the 2020 draft. Now, Jefferson is 6'2", runs a 4.43 in the 40, and jumps to 38 inches in the vert. All right, so super athletic. Jefferson was an extremely fast first step off the ball type of receiver, and he is. And he has some of the best ball skills out of any receiver in this draft class. Now, Jefferson would have been a top 10 pick in any other draft when it comes to the receivers, but at the same time, this draft was so deep that it's a little bit hard. All right. Now, mark my words, Justin Jefferson will have a better year as a rookie than Stephon Diggs did last year as a pro or in his 4th year. Okay, so watch. I really think they are going to win from getting rid of Diggs and signing Jefferson. So overall, like the pick. Then with the Vikings' second pick in the first round, they selected Jeff Gladney, a very competitive corner at TCU. Now, Gladney fell a little bit in the draft because he was injured and because he's a little bit smaller of a corner, but Gladney is extremely fast, he's competitive, and probably will start in the slot day 1. All right, and if not, I think by the end of the year he will be starting. The Vikings then came back in the second and third rounds by selecting 2 back-to-back strong picks with their second-round pick, which is Ezra Cleveland, the Boise State offensive tackle with the 58th pick. Now, Cleveland is an athletic offensive tackle with great footwork. He's elite in pass protection. All right. So for being 6'7", Cleveland can get low. He consistently executes his blocks with good leverage. He did play injured last year for Boise, so the guy shows that he's tough. But if you can continue to get bigger and fill out his frame and stay healthy, I think he might be the Vikings starting right tackle here sooner than later. Then in the third round, they took a super competitive cornerback out of Mississippi State, Cameron Dantzler. Now, Dantzler's about 6'2" and has surprising quickness and technique for a big corner. Right? And at the next level, Dantzler is a future starter, and he will be one of the main people in the secondary going along with Harrison Smith. So overall, I love the Cameron Dantzler pick. He's going to be really effective in Mike Zimmer's defense. Now, the Vikings sure do love their athletes. Now, the reason I said that, in round 4, they selected DJ Wonnum, a stand-up edge rusher out of South Carolina. Now, Wonnum is about 6'5", 265 pounds, and runs a 4.73. All right, big dude, fast, and I think he reminds me of Everson Griffin, but just bigger. All right, so, and I think he's Everson Griffin's replacement because obviously he's gone now this year. But overall, great pick, great developmental guy, but I think he's going to be effective sooner than later. The Vikings then went defense for the next 2 picks in the 4th round. Now, with the 130th pick in the 4th round, the Vikings got the 3rd best rated DN in the draft in James Lynch, right? Now, this is one of my favorite picks, guys. Lynch played at Baylor and was a super productive player, all right? Lynch possesses explosive upper body strength, all right, which allowed him to manhandle offensive tackles, guards, centers. I mean, you name it. He played all along the D-line last year. Lynch is very, very impressive in the run game and pass game. And hands down, to me, he will be a starter on Zimmer's defense. And it's not about if, it's just about when. All right. Lynch was a steal in the 4th round. Just go watch his videotape, watch his highlights. Overall, great pick, Vikings. You nailed it in the 4th. Now, the funny thing is the Vikings weren't done yet, all right? Now, in the 7th round, they selected probably my favorite sleeper of the draft in Kenny Wilkes, the defensive end, former walk-on out of Michigan State. Now, Wilkes is about 6'3", 270 pounds, and plays with the heart of a lion, all right? I loved watching his game film, all right? The dude is relentless. He's an instinctive player, and he's not the most athletic, all right? So he gets knocked on that. But the guy does not quit on any plays, all right? And I honestly think he will be, he'll be not a starter, but he'll definitely be a rotational player in the league to come. And Now he might not be a starter day one, but I think he'll be in the league for years to come, like a Brian Robinson, right? He'll emerge and become a starter. Wilkes likes to rush the passer out of an old school, like 2007 4-point stance. I dig it, all right? It's almost like a sprinter stance, so it's awesome to watch. Now, some pro scouts say Wilkes isn't athletic, and I don't know if he's going to translate into the NFL because of that, but to counter that, he has great footwork, he has great hand placement when attacking the pass rush and run game, which makes him still very, very productive, right? So overall, love this pick. This was another awesome pick by the Vikings, 7th round steal. So the Vikings led the NFL this year with the most draft picks in the 2020 draft, right? They drafted 15 players overall in this draft. And honestly, that might be the most picks I've ever seen in a single draft from one team. And what was impressive about it is that I don't think I've ever seen a team with so many picks get so many elite players and draft steals. Right? The Vikings selected proven football players with about 80% of their draft picks. And instead of reaching on talent like most teams do, and then it ends up backfiring now, so again, they stayed put and they got their guys. All right, so just awesome overall, killing it with staying where they're at. So overall, they killed it with where they were staying at, and they didn't trade up, give rid of picks, so got so much talent out of the 2020 draft. So overall, I'm going to give the Vikings an A overall grade. All right, they earned it, hands down. Now, I'm not going to say an A+, but I'm going to say an A. So overall, super impressive draft. Vikings fans, you should be really happy. I tip my hat to you. All right. Now let's talk about the most controversial team in the draft this year, the team that made the most gossip on the draft day, the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Green Bay Packers are a B-average drafting team. That's what I'll say. Sometimes they hit on picks, and then sometimes they leave you sitting there scratching your head. All right. Now, and with the Packers first, they left me scratching my head with the first pick because they selected Jordan Love. Now, the quarterback of Utah State, he's talented. Now, I will say this, in Jordan Love's defense, he probably has the most upside of any quarterback in this draft. All right, Love is 6'4", 230, runs a 4.7, and has a great arm. He has athletic skills to go with it. But the thing is, when your team is in the NFC Championship the previous year, you want to use that pick to help make that defense better. Or maybe get, your all-pro quarterback, another Pro Bowl receiver for Rodgers to throw to, right? But instead, they decide to take a backup QB. Now, who's going to sit on the bench at least for the next 4 years? All right, Rodgers ain't going nowhere for 4 years. Now, I already know the deal. I guarantee the Packers scout team was thinking, okay, you know what, we got the next Patrick Mahomes here. We're going to do it just like they did. Because they did exactly step-by-step what the Chiefs did in 2017. All right, but to me, the difference is Love doesn't have Mahomes' football IQ, and he doesn't have that love for the game like Mahomes does in the attention to detail. All right, so I don't see it working out quite the way the Packers think it is, but at the same time, I could be wrong. All right, Love has the upside. Now let's talk about the good things the Packers did in the draft, right? Now with the Packers' second pick, they started to right the ship. That's all I'll say, right? They did this by selecting A.J. Dillon, the running back out of Boston College, in the second round. Now Dillon is a truck running the football, right? He's about 6 foot even, weighs about 250 pounds. He's Derrick Henry's weight, all right? About 5 inches shorter. And even with the weight, Dillon still ran a low 4.5 at the NFL Combine. All right, so that's a fast, big guy. All right, now Dillon's a good runner too, right, with above average athleticism for such a big runner. Now, with the Packers drafting Dillon, they could have a powerhouse run game that they're trying to develop, which I like that. I always like that. All right, so if they decide to give Dillon the ball 15, 20 times a game, to me, Dillon's gonna be like a Derrick Henry, right? He's gonna hurt people and he's gonna bruise people in that power game. Now, I think people are gonna sleep on Dillon this year, and to me, I think he's gonna make them pay for it. All right, so overall, I like the pick. Second round or not, again, A.J. Dillon, talented running back. Then in the third round, with the 94th overall pick, the Packers selected Josiah DeGuara, tight end out of Cincinnati. Now, DeGuara is 6'2", 250 pounds, and runs a 4.7 in the 40. Now, DeGuara is not the tallest tight end, but he's stocky and surprisingly athletic, right? He has good footwork and knows how to get open when he's running his routes. And I do think he can be a good weapon for the Packers overall, right? And I really think he would be great in that H-back role, kind of like a Taysom Hill does sometimes. So overall, I did like this pick as well. Now, in the later rounds, the Packers took some more developmental prospects, which is okay, but for a team who was in the NFC Championship last year, I think they would kind of want to utilize those late-round draft picks and get players that are kind of going to make a difference now. But again, decisions are decisions, right? Now, if you think that Jordan Love is the next Patrick Mahomes, then you love the Packers 2020 draft, all right? But if you're like me, and you think they should have used that pick to draft an elite defensive player or offensive player, then you believe that this was a mistake to draft Jordan Love as well, all right? Now, in my opinion, Rodgers will at least play another 4 years, right? Which will then make the Packers have to make a tough decision then, right? I really like the A.J. Dillon pick because Dillon is an underrated running back. And I also think Josiah Okwara will be a decent weapon for Rodgers this year, all right? But because of the lack of talent in the late round prospects selected and also them giving up quality picks to go up and draft a 4-year project and Jordan Love to sit on the bench, I have to give the Packers draft an overall D+. All right, so don't hate me, Packers fans, but I got to give them a D+. Now, the pro scouts were kind of up and down with this, right? Some of them graded the Packers draft good, some graded the back bad. But overall, most of the consensus, it was a D overall grade. All right. Now, I thought they still got a few decent picks, so I felt that they at least deserved being close to that overall C grade. All right, but a D+ is what they're getting for right now. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Fantasy Football Focus 1. It's going to be your host, Diamond Dan, signing off. If you aren't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button. If you liked the video, hit the like button. Leave comments below if you want to disagree on some things. All right, we're all entitled to our opinion. All right, I love the arguments. But overall, thanks for tuning in. This sums up our draft grade videos. We're going to be moving on to the next one. All right, guys. Have a good one. Peace.